All right. Welcome, welcome. Hey, baby, here's your food. Hello, everyone. Why is my camera not working? Do the good old unplug and replug. Let's see if that works. Hello. What is going on? You know, it blows my mind that in 2025, we're still finagling with this kind of stuff, right? It's crazy. Yeah, knowing what I know about the capabilities of mankind, of our technology, the fact that I have to unplug and replug, right? And then go to this like setting and click it, go into the properties, switch to another camera stream, and then go back to that. And then all of a sudden it works, right? Like this is such an easy, simple fix. It just really shows the poverty of humanity. Really, it does. If you're looking at that, like, wow, we're at the pinnacle of society. You and I have very different perspectives. Anyways, welcome back, everybody. This is the next perspective live stream. And my name's Nathan. I'm a former engineer, and I'm here to explain my perspective on a particular topic and then open it up for discussion. Now, I've been really bad at this. I think the last one went on for like an hour. Really just got inspiration from something that my girlfriend told me about. I don't know if like her friends did it or like she saw it on Instagram or something, but it was something about like, you know, friends coming together on Fridays or something, and one of them presents a quick topic for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops, and then everybody just like talks about it and, you know, has drinks, hangs out, whatever. So that's kind of like what I want to do, is kind of keep it short and sweet, but I haven't really prepared these as presentations. A lot of them I wrote down just some notes, right? And I didn't really time it. I don't have the time to go through and make a presentation for every single thing I'm going to talk about. That kind of defeats the purpose of doing this live stream, which is kind of just, you know, going, you know, doing things on the fly. So I'm going to try again. I'm going to try to keep it short, but this is actually quite a long topic. This is, the topic is the science behind strength training. And so I spent about 2 months or more really digging in into as much research as I could look into, and as much, you know, I was looking at videos, looking at some research articles to understand what's important about strength training. And hold on, I want to assist. Oops, don't want that. Okay, just bring it to the bed. One moment, folks, just helping my partner with some clothing. So, where was I? I haven't really figured out where the best spot is. I've been holding it back here so we can get a bigger, like, wider view of this whole area, but maybe it doesn't need that wide, except you get my cute cat. If I can get it nice and wide. Otherwise, I can bring it a little bit closer to me. How's that? So anyways, I looked into all sorts of things with regard to strength training. You know, kind of big questions. How much weight should I do? How many reps should I do? So that's what I'm going to answer here. So I'll just get started. I'll probably refer people to this video in the future if they have questions of this nature. And I might even just put out my, my notes. But, oh, hold on. I got to do another task. We have to put the groceries in the freezer. Okay. Any more frozen stuff? Refrigerator, at least for now.
Bold of you to try fresh basil.
Can't resist. Milk, that's a fridge thing. What? This probably is what?
Not what you thought it was?
No, I thought it was coconut milk.
It is not.
It's not coconut
It is
milk.
not the kind of coconut milk that you would put in a curry, for example.
But it's the kind that you drink.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. Because it was in that bottle in particular.
Organic coconut, non-dairy beverage.
Yeah. Sounds exactly like what I was looking for. Okay. Okay.
The other stuff is fine.
Okay. Oh yeah, and for anybody who was here earlier, which was probably only the spammer guy, yeah, you know, I had an appointment, but it was not very timely, let me just say. I arrived exactly on time for my appointment, actually about 5 minutes ahead of time, but it was until 2 hours and 15 minutes until they saw me, so that's why I had to cancel the mindfulness session. But I'm here now, and let's get talking about strength training. So 2 huge things that I touched upon in previous episodes that I want to touch upon here now is that, and these are kind of like just FYIs, okay? We're going to get into like how many reps you should do, how much, you know, weight you should do, volume, that kind of stuff. Before all that, 2 huge things that have a huge impact on the outcome, the success of your strength training are sleep and diet. It's okay, I can get those.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, good.
Okay. I was just putting that up in the bag because the potatoes have to stay dark.
Sure. Yeah, I'm just a little conscientious of the noise, and I'm trying to be into this mode where I'm talking and all the crinkling and stuff. So I just wanted to minimize that. I'll get the bags later.
Okay.
Hey, baby. So sleep and diet / nutrition. I don't mean diet like, are you on a diet? Like just your normal, what you eat day to day. What's up? Your food bowl's right there. You want special treats, huh? Special treats. Spammer, scammer. So yeah, make sure you get a full amount of sleep. No, stay with me. Okay, fine, don't stay with me. Make sure you get a full night's sleep and make sure you eat healthy. Now, I'm not going to really talk too much about eating healthy. I think that's fairly obvious at this point, and it's really easy for anyone to look up. It's really not rocket science. Try to eat as whole foods as much as possible. Minimize that frozen food, that processed food. Have a quarter of your plate should be some sort of protein. Maybe half should be some leafy green vegetables. And another quarter, maybe some fruit or something. Whole foods, organic if you can afford it. And you'll be pretty good. But go ahead and look that up. Look up good healthy meals you could make. And of course, tailor it to your specific body because everybody's body is different. And that's one thing you'll notice with regard to working out as well. Some people are going to respond very favorably to working out, and some people will respond less so. And of course, there are gender differences as well. So men will tend to find it a lot easier than women in general to build muscle. But there are still men out there who do the same workout as the guy next to them, and they're gaining a fraction of the muscle. And so all of this is kind of got to be tailored with your own unique body in mind. Anyway, so let's start with the good stuff, the real stuff. The question is, when you're thinking about how to work out, what exercises should you do? Should you do a particular style? Should you do Pilates? Should you do calisthenics? Should you do, strength training in the gym? You have to ask yourself, what are your goals? Because your goals will shape everything about what I'm about to tell you. For example, if you're interested in achieving a particular physique, what you're going to do is going to be different than if you're just interested in optimizing your health. So some goals could be, like I said, improving your health. And there's a lot of benefits from working out that improve your health, not just physically, but also your mental health. It can reduce stress, improve your mood, give you better sleep. It can boost your confidence. And then of course there's the whole physical performance, functional ability side, sports performance, just daily activities of climbing stairs and lifting objects, your energy levels. But then another reason people work out is obviously to achieve a very particular physique. They want to look good naked, that's a common reason. Some people also work out because it's it's kind of like a social thing. There's group classes that they go to, and it's or maybe like team sport. If sports are a workout for sure, and that's kind of like there's a social element to that, where you just have a workout partner. And then of course some people just do it because it's fun, because it's like a personal challenge. So whatever it is for you, think about what your goals are, because that'll determine how you move forward. If you overall just want to improve your health, you should really be aiming for a diversity of exercises. So the program I've kind of like designed and outlined for like optimal health will include cardio, like steady state cardio, high intensity interval training, stretching, mobility training, strength training. And just if you were able to dabble your fingers in all those areas, you're going to have great overall health. As opposed to somebody who might not really care about their health, which I guess there must be people out there like that. But maybe, they prioritize their physique. So they're going to focus mostly on strength training. They're going to be at the gym most of the time. In fact, some people, I get the sense from looking at YouTube videos that there's some indication that there are people out there who believe that cardio is bad if you want to gain strength or a particular physique. And I'll dispel that notion later. That's actually not true. Not according to what I found. So yeah. And the other thing is, in terms of like pursuing a physique, I really want you to kind of really think about that and like ask yourself why you want that. Because I think it's one thing to want to be a particular physique because, it's just like kind of it's out of pure curiosity. You're just like, you're kind of wanting to sculpt your body or something. But it's another thing to do it because you feel like ashamed to be in your own body. Like, I really want to invite you to consider whether you're pursuing a physique because you've been sold an idea of what men or women should look like. Unfortunately, consumer culture profits by making us feel very inadequate. And then at the same time, they sell us the solutions to the problems they created. So every supplement ad, fitness influencer, beauty project, it's designed to convince you that there's something wrong with your body. And so yeah, I think it's okay to want to lose weight or to like look a bit sexier, but just keep in mind that what you believe to be sexy might be warped by consumer culture. I actually remember, here, you want to go inside of one of these bags? Here you go. Here's a fresh bag for you. I remember in the early 2000s, there was like a perfect storm of factors promoting very extreme thinness. There was like heroic chic fashion models, extremely thin celebrities at the time, like Paris Hilton. They were like super idolized. Pro-ana websites spreading dangerous content like pro-anorexia. And then it was like the early phase of like social media, so there was like more comparison pressure. And okay, I really wanted to avoid the bag noise, but my cat's going at it. Siri Boo. Hey baby. So yeah, there was just like a lot of magazines at the time. They were constantly featuring weight loss tips, TV shows glamorizing extreme dieting. There was a quote like, "Nothing tastes as good as skinny feels," was a motto back then. And the impact was like devastating. Eating disorders skyrocketed, especially among teenage girls. Many developed lifelong struggles with food and body image during those like critical formative years. So this is exactly why questioning why we want a particular physique is so important. When an entire generation of young women felt that they needed to be dangerously thin to be worthy, that wasn't authentic personal choice. It was mass manipulation by cultural forces that profited from their insecurity. Okay, Siri, you're killing me. I love you, Siri. I love you. Can we move this bag to a different part of the room? Okay, she just can't not have, she just never can get enough bags. Mommy, I have a Siri delivery.
You're here.
You want to take a picture? Or a video, I don't know what's better. There you go. That was cute. So yeah, bottom line is the most sustainable and healthy physicals come from within, from wanting to feel energetic, capable, and comfortable in your own skin. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I was actually watching a video. There's actually been an interesting amount of drama recently in the fitness, like online fitness industry. Surprisingly, I would have never known. A lot of like these natty or not videos coming out, and essentially in a nutshell, it's a lot of people. Remember, I spoke yesterday about this idea of like the internet making everything more extreme, social media making things more extreme, because you can't just do a video about eating 10 bananas anymore because that's been done. So you have to do 100 bananas. And once that's been done, you have to do 1,000 bananas, right? Like the internet has a tendency to make things more extreme. Or really social media pressures. And so that's applied to human bodies as well. So people need to, in order to, stand out from the crowd, you need to have a ripped physique, right? You can't just be like normal strong. And so that's been encouraging a lot of people to use steroids, which are not great for the human body, to be honest. Not really good. But people are like, okay, I'll use it for a few years, I'll get ripped and get famous and make money and be comfortable, and that's worth the trade-off. And so there's been a lot of these a lot of this drama between people who are like, I'm natural, and everyone's like, you're not natural. So this like whole natty or not drama. But I get it, right? The world we live in doesn't make it so that you are comfortable and provided for by default, right? You enter a world in which basically as soon as you leave your parents' house, it is up to you from that moment on to take care of yourself. Dog eat dog world out there. And for a lot of people, that just looks like working at McDonald's or some low-wage job is the best they got. If they're lucky, they got to have their parents help them pay for school, or maybe they took out their own loans and went in debt, accepted debt for years to get out of school, to maybe not even be able to get a job so easily. So it's kind of a dog-eat-dog world out there. And a lot of people don't really see themselves as like, they just don't want to be working 40 years at a job to pay off debt to just like barely get by. And so the allure of becoming a fitness influencer kind of takes hold, and they're willing to do steroids to do so. And so I think that's what happened with the Hussein Harfad, or whatever his name is, thing. We have Julian Fitzgerald. I've been watching this drama unfold and explode between him and Anabolic Stick and Greg Doucette, and yeah, it seems like they probably, I think that Anabolic Stick is right. I get the sense that he's correct. That the timeline seems a little fishy. So we have these people that most likely took steroids in the past to get like a head start into like looking really buff and really strong, but they're claiming that they're natural, and then they're offering these services like, here, I'll train you, here, you know, buy my products. I know what I'm talking about because I'm strong, so buy my product. And it's not really true. I've seen videos. Neither of them really actually know what they're talking about. From what I understand, they're pretty, I mean, they're barely out of high school, right? They're like kids. One is still in high school, actually, I think. So, you know, they're not experts by any stretch of the imagination. They took a shortcut, but they're selling it as if they didn't. And that's where all the drama comes in. But I get it. Like I said, there's all these pressures from media messaging and culture that will cause someone to make that decision. And then, you know, some people double down. They don't want to admit they're lying, and this is just the way it is. So I get it. Just know that everyone here, you're all welcome. No judgment. If you want to take steroids, I get it. I wouldn't advise it, but I can understand that there are pressures out there today that would incentivize people to do things that could potentially harm their body. Maybe they think it'll make them a lot more money, and that will make them happy in the long run. And I think that's, you know, money can help make one more comfortable, but I'm not sure it'll make them happy. And I think that's where the trap is, that the illusion of being a celebrity, of being rich, of being a big movie actor with tons of money, right? Culture kind of paints this illusion that money is the key to happiness, but really it isn't, actually. A lot of people with money are quite unhappy, and there have been numerous scientific studies to back this up. You can look at huge studies that have been done over like decades. There's a long study from Harvard that looks at people over time and, you know, assesses their happiness. And really, it's not about money. It's more about the connections you have and the quality of those connections. But that's a topic for another time. So the next question I want you to ask yourself, beyond the question of, so what are my goals, is, have you found enjoyment in exercise yet? And I worded it this way and carefully, because I think anyone can find enjoyment in exercise, but not everyone does. In fact, I would say I haven't really found enjoyment in exercise. I understand that it's possible, but I haven't really been seeking or trying to find enjoyment. So I work out, but I work out primarily because I think it's good for my health. I don't work out primarily because it's really just fun for me to do. I can't wait to lift this dumbbell up for an hour. No. So if you haven't been able to find enjoyment in exercise, that will also kind of suggest certain paths you might take versus someone who does enjoy exercise. They might take a different approach with exercise. For example, if you don't really like working out, you probably want to minimize the time that you're in the gym, right? Minimize the time. You want to get the most bang for your buck. But if you do like working out, then you're not really necessarily looking to rush. You know, there's different techniques where, you know, you could find more enjoyment without trying to cut down and minimize the time. Overall, in terms of health, if you want to get the most bang for your buck, you could probably just do cardio, or like cardio and a little bit of strength training, or like a sport that kind of gets the best of both worlds. And if you play that sport 3 times a week, you'll get probably most of the benefits of the health regimen, the health training, like range of exercises that I listed before, or types of things you could do, from cardio to high intensity interval training to like strength training, going to the gym. So you can kind of combine that all in one with certain sports. For example, a really, really good sport is swimming. I mean, I guess it's not kind of the same sport people think about when you think of the word sport. For me, football, soccer, baseball comes to mind. Swimming is a sport though, and it is incredibly healthy sport. I mean, there's like basically no impact. It uses like every muscle in your body. I mean, not to mention the bonus fact that you just improve as a swimmer. And it's aerobic exercise, it's muscular exercise. So, I mean, swimming is great. But there's a lot of sports out there that will provide good benefit. Maybe less so with that one, what is it, like curling or something, where you like throw this thing on the ice and like people sweep in front of it. Like, okay, maybe that one's not working like quite all the muscles you really want to be working. But probably a lot of sports are pretty close, whether you're playing basketball, you're running back and forth all the time. It's great aerobic workout. Getting some, muscles, your leg development. Soccer, probably even better. Really great for your legs for sure. Maybe a little bit less in the arms, but baseball, I played 10 years of baseball. I have a love-hate relationship with baseball. I learned how to catch really well. This is one of the gifts I'm left with. Like, anything can fall and I can catch it. I just missed it. But as a sport, it's kind of like, I felt like I was waiting around a lot. Like when your team's at bat, for example, you're usually just sitting down most of the time, right? One person's at bat the whole time, and then it goes through. And sometimes like you don't even get to go bat because it's 3 outs. So go back to the outfield. So there's a lot of waiting, and like in the outfield, right? Unless you're the pitcher or the catcher, where you're basically involved in like every single throw. If you're at one of the bases or in the outfield, you could just be standing there the entire time, and nothing ever happens to you. And then back to the lineup. Go, it's just like, I love and hate baseball. I feel like as a sport, it's not necessarily the most active. I kind of like other sports like soccer or something where, if you're on the field, you're going to be running around. You're going to be like actively participating at all times. But, baseball players look pretty strong. I mean, maybe they're just working out in the gym after the fact. But any sport that you can do, that'll get you most of the benefit, for sure. So beyond that, if you just beyond health, and you're actually like, okay, Nathan, I want to gain muscle. I want to look strong. I want to be strong. Well, this is the part that you want to listen to. The most important aspect of strength training is consistency, is sustainability. So the question of whether you will stick to your workout is more important than anything else. Technique, reps, whatever. You could do the perfect workout and have the perfect form, perfectly. But if you stop after a month or two because you get bored or whatever, you get exhausted, you get burned out, you're just going to lose those gains. The human body is quite efficient. If you don't use your muscles, it's going to be like, okay, you don't need those muscles anymore. I'm going to get rid of them. So working out, you have to recognize it as a change in your lifestyle, not a one-off thing. You can't expect to work out and just be done. Like, I'm going to work out for a couple years, get my muscles, and I'll be done. That's not how it works. You have to keep at it. So when you are considering working out, you have to think of it as, am I willing to do this basically for the rest of my life? Now, of course, you don't have to do the same exact thing your entire life. You can start with going to the gym, and then maybe you can go to like calisthenics and try other things, maybe do a sport. But altogether, if you're not exercising the muscles that you exercised in the past, eventually those muscles will atrophy. Just how the body works. So you want to think about sustainability most importantly. Is the thing you're about to do going to be sustainable? Now, the particular workouts that I designed for my strength training sessions that I offer were to be pretty efficient workouts. It's something where most people will be able to gain pretty good muscle from doing that workout, actually really good muscle, and won't have to take too much time. Basically, mine are timed to be around 45 minutes each. So basically, if you have an hour and a half a week, that's it, 1 hour and 30 minutes each week, you will gain pretty good muscle. In fact, my physique is from my workouts, right? I only recently started going to the gym to supplement some areas, some weak points in my body. But for the most part, my physique is almost entirely shaped from my own workouts. So you can get pretty strong, absolutely. And the scientific literature seems to suggest that you only need to do about 1 to 4 sets per muscle group per week to attain approximately 2/3 of the gains that you would if you trained closer to 10 sets. Let me repeat that. So there's been this like 10 set rule that like people have been adhering to for a while in the gym, like gym bros or something, where you got to work 10 sets, right? Not reps, sets per muscle group to get like pretty good gains, like pretty much like maximize your gains. Now you can do more, you can do 20, but the gains kind of taper off. There's a point, you can't just do hundreds of sets and still keep gaining, right? There's a taper point, and 10 sets is like kind of at that sweet spot. But when you look at the literature, actually, you can do anywhere from 1 to 4 sets and gain 2/3 of the benefit that those 10 sets gave you. So that's huge. If you're someone who's like, I don't really like working out, I don't want to spend like 4 hours in the gym every day, then you can work out a lot less to get most of the benefit. And so that's really good. That's really handy. And actually, in terms of the overall health benefits of strength training that include reduction in the likelihood of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, etc., you can just do 1 strength training day per week and obtain almost all of the benefits. So that's really good news. If you're looking to just be healthy, you don't need to be in the gym a lot. You can just work out 1 good workout session a week and you'll get almost all those benefits. Excuse me. Now, in terms of maximizing your efficiency in the gym, there's a couple of things you can do that will help save time. And this is how, and I've put some of these into my own routine as well. And the big one is supersets or trisets or quad sets or however you structure them. Basically, when you do multiple exercises, 1, 2, or 3 exercises back to back with not too much rest in between, and then you just like repeat that cycle. So that works because if you do exercises that are unrelated, right? So you do like a bicep and then you do a tricep, they're not really going to interfere with each other. So you can get more volume in a shorter amount of time. Another technique that people can do, and I do all the time at the gym, is drop setting. This is where you do as many as you can on a particular way, and you just get to the last one, you can't do it anymore, and then you go down a weight. You drop about 20% of the weight off. And then you do as many as you can again. And then you get to the last one, you can't do it anymore, and then you drop another 10, 20% of the weight off. And then you do it some more. I usually like to do that at least twice, if not 3 times. And it'll just like keep you closer to that burn point, because what you'll find is that what really matters is getting to that point of the burn. in a nutshell, it's all about time under tension. I'll get into that in a bit more detail in a sec. Let me skip down. I'm not going to really talk about my program in depth. I have this huge section here where I kind of describe that. I'll just say that for sure there's no one size fits all program. The program I outlined is a pretty like general baseline, but I really do encourage you to tailor it to your own needs and goals. In particular, if there are exercises you just don't like, then you can, if you've never done an exercise that I show and you're not feeling it, I mean, I encourage you to try it a couple times. Maybe you just need to get used to it. But if after a while you've done it like 5 times, you're like, Nathan, I don't like this, it doesn't feel good, whatever, then don't do it. Replace it with something of your own choice that targets the same muscle. Now, in terms of my particular routine, also, is it for men? Is it for women? It can be for both. I think probably men will be more gravitated to it because it definitely will give you more like I'm the guy, and they'll see like, oh, Nathan got muscles, so maybe I can get muscles from it. And I feel like often women are kind of the opposite. They're like, maybe I don't want Nathan's muscles. I'd rather just do something lighter. Well, you don't really have to worry about that. I feel like this is kind of a misconception. Muscle gain is a very slow process, very gradual process. You're not going to do my workout one day and then wake up with giant, huge biceps or something. That's just not how it works. So I encourage you to do my workout, whatever, whoever you are, man or woman, young or old, try it and see how it feels. And you might just find that, wow, you like the changes it's doing to your body, the strength gains, like, wow, now I can pick up a jug of milk like it's a baseball, it's nothing. So yeah, definitely open and available to anyone. Now, in terms of athletes out there, I mean, if you're an athlete and you're like a super competitive athlete, I mean, my program's aimed at beginners. It's not really meant for super professionals. You probably need like a tailored program to your specific sport, right? If you're doing baseball, like you need like lats or something, like there's probably a program specific for you. But if you're just like, you're kind of an athletic person, you go to like sporting events or something, you go to the gym or something, and play some pickleball, and you want some explosiveness, you can just totally implement that in my workout. Just focus on explosive movements on the concentric portion of each exercise. So that's usually the one where you're lifting up or you're pushing away. And then on the eccentric portion, maintain control and stability, right? And then explode up, and then go down, explode up. So again, if you're into sports and you want that explosiveness power, you can implement that into my program. So how did I pick my exercises for my program? The one I do twice a week. Well, I spent months actually, probably 3 or 4 months researching different exercises and compiled a list of the most recommended for each body part. Then I tried each of the exercises. And then I included them in the program that best met 5 criteria. And a lot of these criteria I totally pulled from Jeff Nippard's own like best of lists with a little bit of modification. But number 1, it has to be a safe exercise. I want most people to be able to do this exercise without any real risk of injury. There are definitely some questionable exercises out there that may be effective, but if they're risky, I didn't include them. The second thing was that it has to have a big stretch with high tension on the targeted muscles. That's kind of like key. This is something that Jeff's all about right now, which is like exercising in the, getting the most bang for your buck in when the muscle's in the stretched position. So for biceps, something like this, rather than like putting a lot of tension when you're already at the top. Third thing is I tried to make them compound versus isolation work, but there's no strict rule there. I'm not saying isolation exercises are not in there or that they're bad. But I think compound muscle groups, compound exercises really make it easier to exercise a bunch of muscles at once and kind of cut down the overall like volume that you have to do. Because if you want to isolate every single muscle one at a time, you're going to be all day like doing every single muscle in isolation. It'll take forever. So compound just really helps save time, and there's probably some other benefits as well. Just, they're like stabilizer muscles in a lot of exercises that are recruited, as opposed to like when you're using like one of those, curling machines or something, or difference between a bench press and a Smith machine or a machine chest press, right? Those machines are doing the stabilizing for you. Whereas when you're doing a bench press with a barbell, you have to stabilize it. So you're recruiting some of those muscles, so you're strengthening a bit more muscles. So compound probably has some benefits overall, but it's still kind of up in the air. Because the thing about machine chest press is that you can do a lot more focused exercise on your chest, and you can just get those muscles that you would have otherwise used in another exercise. Plus you need way less warm-up. So actually when I go to the gym, I usually do probably 2/3 of the time, I'll do something like a machine chest press. And then 1/3 of the time I'll do a bench press. Just because it's so much easier. I can go in, I can do fewer warm-ups. I can just go max weight. I don't really have to worry about that thing falling on me. But in terms of my workout, which I've engineered for mostly as a home workout, that's not really going to be as relevant. There's not a lot of isolation in that way. But if you have a machine chest press at home, you're lucky and you can do it and replace it with some of the chest stuff I do. Okay, getting back to the criteria. The fourth one is it's simple and it feels good. I want it to be relatively easier to master, consistent, good form that effectively engages the muscles without causing pain. Because there's a lot of exercises out there. So when I was going through the different ones for the different muscle groups, some of them are a little bit weird and awkward, or they like don't really feel quite as nice. And this might be kind of subjective, based on everyone's unique body. And of course, if you have injuries and stuff, it might be different for you. But I did what's simple and feels good to me. And then lastly, it's got to be easy to load in general. If you can't progressively overload the exercise, you're going to hit a plateau. You're like, okay, what do I do now? So if you can easily add weight, that's a huge win for that exercise. Now there's exceptions, right? Like push-ups aren't that easy to load, right? You can like have someone put a plate on your back or something, but that's a little wonky and it's not really that stable. But still, exercises like push-ups are fundamental for chest development and even like some core. And so I included them. It doesn't always have to be easy to load, but for the most part, I wanted them to be easy to load so that as you're getting stronger and stronger, you're doing your dumbbell curls, it's easy to put that lighter set down, now grab the heavier set, and then you can keep going, keep progressing. All right, wow. I am terrible at keeping this within 20 to 30 minutes, but that's okay. If my channel at all becomes popular and this chat just blows up, I will never be able to get through this. I do not even know what I'm going to be doing. Hopefully someone else can explain. We have like a professional, fitness person. Like I said, I'm not a professional fitness person. I have no instruction experience whatsoever. And I've been noticing that myself. I'm like, wow, it's hard to explain things. I'm not good at it. I'm hoping with time I'll get better and it'll just be easy and, it'll be fun. But right now, you'll have to forgive me. I know the exercises. I've been doing most of them, except for the new ones I added recently. I've been doing them for many years. But it's different when you have to explain it to somebody, you know, it's kind of a different skill. So I don't know why this is in the section, because I talked about nutrition earlier, but I have a little note here. There's actually a really good fundamental series that Jeff Nipper did on nutrition. And he actually references another more in-depth series on nutrition by Team 3MJ. That one I went into, and it's quite dense. I think Jeff's is a good summary and probably appropriate for 90% of people out there. But you can just Google Jeff Nippard Fundamental Series and you'll find it. And that's a really good baseline. So here's another question. Do I need to go to the gym or can I work out at home? Again, I think this just depends on what your goals are. If you really love working out, maybe you want to just go to the gym. They have all the tools for you to do what you love, right? Like, that sounds pretty good to me if I was really into working out. If you don't really love working out, but you really want to sculpt a very particular physique, then you'll probably have to go to the gym. But maybe you'll make like a shorter routine that doesn't have you there for, 2 hours a day. And then if you just want to be healthy or you want to get some pretty basic muscles, like basically, you're not trying to be Arnold or anything, then absolutely just work out in your home. You can get a very small subset of equipment. This whole thing was probably 100 or maybe $250 at most. I mean, I guess that could be a lot to some people, but I think all the dumbbells, with the exception of these two, were $150. This was like a $50 rack. So, hey, that's not your food. That's your sister's food. So, if you can spare a little bit of money and get and afford your own home equipment, then absolutely you can work out and get 99% of the benefits at home. The only things that I found that's really hard to do well at home are hamstrings, in particular hamstrings. Pretty much every other exercise you can do pretty well at home. But hamstrings, you're mostly limited to hip hinge exercises, RDLs, good mornings, right? But you just can't really beat a leg curl machine, right? Or lying leg curl or seated leg curl will get you huge hamstrings compared to what you can do with just the RDL. At least that's been my experience. Now, there's also the Nordic hamstring curl, but I can't do I wasn't able to do the Nordic hamstring curl until I started doing the seated leg curl, right? Until I got my hamstring strong enough, I couldn't really do it. Now you can start with like negatives and like slowly work your way up, and sure, so it's not impossible. But I just found I go to the gym twice a week. That's why I do Mondays and Thursdays a little bit later, so I can go to the gym in the morning. And it's actually nuts. My program is ridiculous. I do not recommend it to anybody, but I'm trying to condense basically my 5-day upper lower program on 2 days so I can come back and live stream. It leaves me exhausted, but I feel like it's nice and efficient. I just blow through it. And, I have a good time. I meditate in between sets or whatever. But highly recommend, if you're going to go to the gym, look up some plans. I think Jeff Nippard does a pretty good plan for the gym that will get you pretty jacked, if you stick to it. Although the only thing I will say about Jeff's program, from what I've seen, is it seems like he almost designed it so that you could easily find the people who do Jeff Nippard's plan, right? There's some interesting exercises in there that the cuffed behind the back lateral raise, right? Like every time I do this exercise, people are like, what is this kid doing? Right? Or he does like inverse Zottman curls. I was getting confused last week when I was doing workout because he does inverse Zottman curl. So he hammers up and then twists and goes down. Whereas like a normal Zottman curl is you're going up and then hammer down. But yeah, so there's just like little differences that you're like, oh, that guy's a Jeff Nippard follower. He's doing this weird thing. Maybe Jeff's trolling us this whole time. But anyways, I think his workout's pretty good. I've tried a bunch of different ones. Ones that I've made, I've kind of pulled in P90X stuff that I used to do. I've done a whole range, and especially as a beginner, pretty much anything that you do is going to get you muscle. And that's the real truth of it. If you put some reasonable effort in, you're going to get muscle. You really only start needing to like actually think about your routine and like what you're doing in depth after you start seeing plateaus. And that's, for most people, I think you're not going to plateau as a beginner for a while. But it just depends on certain factors, which I will get into soon. Hey, baby. So general rules of thumb when you're working out. So for the exercises that I do, and I, have on this live stream where I do them twice a week and demonstrate them, when you're following along, the general rule of thumb is if an exercise is too hard for you, then do an easier variant. And if it's too easy, if you're doing like 20 reps of it, at that point you can move on to a more difficult variant. So I would say if the exercise involves reps, in general, when you're working out, if you can do 25 reps or more with good form and control, maybe even just 20. But 20, it doesn't really hurt to make sure you're even stronger. If you can do 20 reps with good form and control, you're ready to move on to a more difficult variant. And if you can't do 6 reps, then I would choose an easier variant or a lighter weight. And then for exercises that involve like static holds, you want to be able to aim to do a stable 60-second hold before moving to a more challenging variant. And you might even push yourself even more and do 2 minutes. These aren't hard and fast rules, but there does come a point where something becomes so easy and you're able to do 1,000 reps. It's not really going to really do much for gaining muscle development. So, and I think anywhere from 20 reps or like a 60-second hold, depending on the exercise, is a good place to start. Now, is it important that you count reps? Again, this depends on what you're going for. If you're just trying to be healthy, no, absolutely not. You do not need to count your reps. If you can just bang out whatever feels good, and that'll be fine. If you're looking to really gain a lot of muscle, sculpt your physique in a very particular way, and make sure you progress consistently, yes, I would absolutely track reps. This is especially important if you've never done it before. If you've never tracked reps before, then you have no understanding about how your body responds to exercise. And that's key because it's different for everybody. So you can actually use free apps. I use a free one. What's it called? Where's my phone? I use a free one and it's great. It's called FitNotes. Very simple, very straightforward. And the most important thing is that you can easily back up and restore data. So many times I've actually exported my data to my computer, opened up a SQL editor. If it's a little maybe getting technical for folks, but if you can actually edit the database yourself so you can implement exercises on your computer as opposed to having to type it all here on your phone. It's just easier for me. And then you can save that and then bring it back to your phone and it's all right here, ready to go. So I found this really helpful, and you can track exercises, you can set up your routines, your workouts, and then here, I'll pull one up. look at graphs. So here is my graph for this exercise. As you can see, I totally plateaued today. Yeah, I was sick the last week, so even though it was kind of mild, you saw me on this live stream, I seemed okay. I felt slightly sick and I could tell that I had something and I didn't want to infect anybody else, so I just stayed home. So today I just took it easy. I'm not in a rush. I'm at peace with how my body is and how I feel. So I've already had a couple injuries in the past. I feel like everyone who lifts does, unfortunately. And I know how easy it is to get injured when you go back to the gym after like, a week or two away. And then you overdo it a little bit and you're like, and then you can't use that, can't use your shoulder for a month. So, excuse me. Don't be afraid to chill and take it easy, dial it back every once in a while. So, once you have counted your reps before, then you have general understanding of what is the right amount of effort for each exercise / muscle group / muscle. And what I mean by that is, right, like you let's say you do a bicep curl 1 week and you do 10 reps. Well, next week, the next time you work out, you either want to do the same amount of exercise or maybe just one more rep or 2 more reps, right? That'll be how you track your progress. And then the next week that you have to do the bicep curl, right? You'll know you have progressed, you've gotten stronger if you're able to do the same amount plus 1 or 2 more, right? If you're adding weight or you're adding repetitions, you're progressing. But the key is to figure that out. You kind of need to have pushed yourself on that exercise, right? You can't just do 10 and be like, oh, I'm adding weight. Like, you basically need to figure out your 1 rep max or just really the max you can with that weight. So pick a weight where you can do 15 reps of bicep curl. And if you can do 16, 17, you picked a weight that's a bit too light. So find a weight where like you're barely get that last 15th rep up. And then then you know that's your max basically for that particular weight. And then you go back next week and you do the bicep curl. And since you tracked it, you know you did exactly 15 reps. So you can make sure to always hit that. And you'll have a sense of like how much intensity that you need to feel for that to occur, right? Like you're gonna be like, oh, like there's some intensity that will go through your body, through your mind, like, and so this is what I talk about when I talk about effort or intensity. I'm talking about them kind of interchangeably. When you track your exercises and track your reps, you'll understand the amount of intensity you need to do kind of more directly because you're making sure you're always improving because you see the number. And if you're not improving, then you know something's up. So to answer the question, how much effort do you have to put in every week? Really, it's up to you. It's really how much do you want to gain each week? If you're in a race, right, you cannot wait until you're ripped and you want to get there as soon as possible, you're going to have pretty damn intense workouts. Like you're going to have to be really grunting hard through all that, through all those exercises. But if you're just more relaxed about it, I would say I'm more relaxed about it. I don't really care, honestly. I'm at peace with my physical health You know, I don't mind getting a little stronger, cool, get some big muscles, but I don't really need them. I'm not, like trying to lift a car off somebody or something. I think I have pretty good muscles now. So I take a really my goal in workout is just to like relax and chill and enjoy the experience, feel some burn, feel some, get some good workout in, but I'm not trying to be there like, oh, grunting all day. Like I don't really go for the super intense stuff. So depending on where you are, you just got to decide what the amount of effort you want to put in. Do you want to race to the end? You're going to have to be pretty damn intense. Are you more chill and laid back and you're willing to accept a bit slower gains? Then just chill and just, work until you feel it's good. And actually you'll notice that it'll change on a per muscle basis too. For some reason it's like easier to be more like the intensity matters less on certain exercises. Like for example, like calves, when I do calf raises, that's not the same as doing like leg press for me anyways. Also I can do like bicep, I can do like pretty high intensity, like bicep curls, Bayesian curls, excuse me. And that's not so bad. But maybe doing like chest press or something, like, I don't know, feels more intense. I don't know if these are like, it's like closer to my body. I'm not really sure, but. So what else is important? Breathing. And this one is one I'm terrible at. Absolutely terrible. My whole life, I knew nothing about this until basically the last like couple of years when I learned about this. But breathing is important, obviously, but breathing correctly during exercises can be very, very helpful. So I think the general rule is that you want to exhale on the exertion phase of an exercise. So when you're pushing up on a push-up or you're pulling up on a row, you want to exhale on the exertion phase and inhale during the less strenuous phase. So the lowering of a push-up, the returning of a row. And then for isometric holds, you just maintain steady, even breaths. Now, when it comes to spine movement, typically you want to exhale during flexion, which is bending forward, and inhale during extension, which is arching backwards. Like that. Now, when stretching, some people advocate for a nose to mouth breathing, which supposedly relaxes your nervous system a bit to allow for a deeper stretch. And I've tried it and it actually seems legit. So you can try that too. I'm going to do some stretching, I think, during mobility programs here and there. There's some stretches I want to try out. I've been watching a few of these stretching YouTubers, and I think flexibility is really valuable and super underrated. And I have a little goal where I would like to be able to eventually do all the splits, the middle split, the side split, front split. So I'm like slowly working my way there, but my routine kind of got interrupted because I was doing it while watching shows and movies, but I've stopped doing that recently. So I need to rethink that. But yeah, I'll implement some stretching into the mobility sessions here and there. All right, we're getting there. A little past time. Sorry about that, but I don't think anyone's listening anyways. And, this will be just an archival video. People can go back and check it out if they're curious to learn more. There's a couple other concepts we need to get into. One of them is volume. For gaining muscle, what's important isn't the volume per se, which is sets. Typically it's determined to be sets times reps times weight. Really what matters is time under tension. So what I mean by that is you can actually progress in strength by doing a single rep every single week. It just would mean that that one rep is like super high intensity. And this is actually the basis for some people's workouts. I was watching this guy, God, I forget his name. Did I link it here? Yes, I did. Jack H. Woods does this technique where he basically just does a single or maybe two super high intensity reps. And he just stays in that like high intensity, 1 rep max zone for as long as he can. And that's it, he's done. And it works for him. He looks pretty strong. If he's telling the truth about his workouts, and it seems to align with my understanding of biology and anatomy. It's not necessarily about doing a lot of sets, a lot of reps. It's really just about time under tension. So what he does is he maximizes this time under tension moment in a single high intensity rep. And he gets basically the same benefit. Unfortunately, for me, that's not gonna work just because, like I said, I like to chill. I don't want to be every single day of my life like straining under the intense, mental experience that is what it seems like he goes through for like each of these reps. So, if you want a super efficient workout and you don't mind the intensity, that might be a good approach for you. But yeah, you really need to bring the intensity if you want this approach to work. Otherwise, you're just doing multiple sets and multiple reps. And what that is doing is it's spreading out that intensity. So I'm doing, if I do 3 sets, that's dividing it by, 3 sets of 10. That's 10 exercises where I'm slowly building up that intensity and that feeling in my arm, getting to that point. And then it's fairly intense, but then I chill. And I just do that 3 more times. Versus Jack's technique is basically like doing one single rep and then just staying in that zone as long as possible. He's done. Technically works, but not for everybody. Now let's talk about rate of progress. If you want to gain muscles fast, I want you to reflect on why. Why do you want to gain muscles fast? Because again, you have to think about fitness as a journey. It's not a destination. But if you want to gain muscles fast, there's really no 2 ways about it. You're going to have to train hard, and you're going to generally also have to train a lot. It's, my 2 days a week I think is good for most people, and they'll get a lot of benefit from it. But if you want to gain a lot of muscle really fast, you're going to be probably spending 5 or 6 days in the gym. And you're going to be putting a lot of effort in. And you'll only gain maybe you're 30% faster, right? Like the study I cited earlier, you can get most of your gains in 1 to 4 sets. So, you can work out and gain muscles faster and go harder, but there's diminishing returns. So if you're cool with that, and if you just really love working out, then that's great. But overall, I would say as a beginner, you can probably expect to gain 1 to 2 pounds of muscle per month. Now, some people, like I said, they're high responders. They can gain a lot more. And some people are low responders and aren't going to respond as quickly and will gain less. But on average, 1 to 2 pounds per month if you have a pretty good, consistent workout schedule. And that will go for about, 5-10 years, depending on how consistent you are before you hit your max. Okay, so next up, novelty. Now I only bring this up in the context of my own workouts, right? Because I'm offering a thing where I like kind of do workouts, and then if anybody wants to come on and want tips about how to do it and whatever, I can offer that. But some people probably want novelty, right? It's like some people want something different every single time. And then some people kind of want the same thing. They want consistency. So for the balance that I chose to do kind of a mix of both. I created 3 different full body routines. So there's novelty. And then we'll keep doing those 3 body routines and progressing through them. So you'll find that, oh, I'm going to be doing A this week and maybe A this week, and you'll get the benefit of both novelty and being able to notice, like, wow, we did this exercise last week, and now when I'm doing it, I notice I can do it a lot more. It's a lot easier to do, whatever. And I think that's the real benefit of consistency, the same workout, is that you can really notice your growth. If you're just doing something different every single time, it's kind of haphazard. It's hard to tell when you're growing. And it's really nice, especially in the beginning as a beginner, when you're going to get the most growth, to be able to see that growth. I've been tracking all my workouts at the gym, and it's really nice seeing this like really nice curve of my progress. And I've been noticing in kind of more detail than ever before, actually, about which particular muscles gain muscle faster, right? I work out pretty much everything the same amount, more or less, at least all the major muscle groups. But yeah, you can totally see that, like, you know, my bigger muscles, like my legs, my hamstrings, my quads, my calves, my adductors, my abductors, they gain a lot of muscles. I can go up basically a pin weight every single week. And that's 15 pounds for the most of these exercises. But my biceps, I can maybe go up like, I've been going up probably 2.5 pounds each week. So they're just smaller muscles, and they can't really like grow quite as quick, even though I challenge them just as much. So this has been interesting me to observe this in a new way, because I tracked my lifting in the past, but never with an app that like kind of really graphs it out for you, and it just makes it really easy to track. It was on paper. I don't know if I have those papers anymore. So yeah, highly recommend you get an app like FitNotes, completely free. All right, there is, oh God, why is there so much? I think this is going to be like another 20 minutes at least. I'm terrible. This whole thing was supposed to be 20 minutes. Maybe this should have been like 3 perspective episodes. Anyways, it's just going to be an all-nighter discussion of all the stuff regarding weight training. I'll try to go a bit quicker. I'm kind of like a rambler. You may have noticed that. My bad. My bad. Saw that in, what was that show? With the therapist, Harrison Ford. Peter Segal? I don't know. I'll remember it later and it'll come to me. Mind-muscle connection. So the mind-muscle connection, when people bring this up, what is that? You're like, what is this? It refers to like consciously focusing your attention on the specific muscle you're working out during an exercise. And actually, it was interesting. I remember seeing like a overrated, underrated thing with Jeff Nippert and somebody else. And Jeff Nippert said it was overrated. And I was like, huh, interesting. That's not my understanding. I think it's actually very underrated. But I think maybe what it comes down to is that for a beginner, when you're working out, you don't really have to do jack, and you'll gain muscle, right? You could be just kind of flailing your arms practically, and you'll gain muscle. It's so easy as a beginner, especially as a guy. Guys gain a lot of muscle really quickly, but as a beginner girl, you're going to face the same benefits. It tapers as you get more and more advanced in your workouts, and you get more and more muscle. It gets harder and harder to gain muscle as you get closer and closer to like your body's physical maximum. So yes, on one sense, the mind-muscle connection doesn't super matter much because it's pretty easy to gain muscle if you're just like kind of like making sure you're doing the right form. You don't really need to think about it. And I think this is especially true with isolation exercises where you're at the gym and the gym machine is like making sure that you're targeting the right muscle. You can't even deviate. It like locks you in to the position. So yeah, you don't really need to think about anything. Absolutely. But in all other cases, when you're doing like dumbbells, you're doing, ground, you're on the mat and you're kind of like doing exercises where you have to do like a fire hydrant or you're kicking your leg up in the air. You absolutely, I think, need a mind-muscle connection because your mind-muscle connection is what's telling you whether you're hitting the right muscle. Machine will lock you into place, but when you have no machine to lock you in place, you absolutely need to have a mind-muscle connection. I feel like that's so critical. In fact, if you do Pilates, I want Jeff Nippard to do like 2 months of Pilates. And I think he might change his opinion on the value of mind-muscle connection because there's actually quite a bit of benefit that you learn when you're taught correctly how to like, for example, like tense up your core. There's like ways you can do it, like abs in and up, right? Like there's powerful verbal cues that can help you really engage muscles in a really powerful way that will work them more effectively than if you're just not paying attention. So I think mind-muscle connection is pretty important. And generally speaking, when you're not on a machine and you're using a dumbbell or something, or your body weight, and you're just kind of doing an exercise, you want to be kind of paying attention to what muscles are being worked and making sure that you're actually working the correct one, because it's so easy to recruit the wrong muscles in various exercises. Most aren't super isolating. So a lot of like raises, for example, all the time when I'm doing lateral raises or doing seated W raises, a lot of these are meant to engage your delts, but they often engage your traps as well, which is fine. I like to grow my traps, so I'm not complaining. But the point is, if you're looking to shape your body in a particular way and you're not paying attention to what's actually being worked, you're going to have a weird outcome. So I would not sleep on the mind-muscle connection. Really try to feel the muscles as you're working them to make sure you're getting the form right and to make sure you're getting the form right and targeting what you want to target. Calisthenics. Why isn't everybody doing calisthenics? Should we be doing calisthenics instead of going to the gym and doing all these like isolation exercises? Absolutely. I think calisthenics is extremely valuable. These are actually calisthenics rings. I think calisthenics is great. I think, unfortunately, there may be some exercises lacking on your lower day, your legs. But in general, if you're all about just being able to do handstands and kind of like pull-ups and muscle ups and front levers, back levers, those are really cool. That's actually kind of one thing that I would be more interested in myself. I'm not that interested in going to the gym, but I can see it being kind of cool to be able to work towards very specific goals, like being able to do a front lever. So I may actually do that at some point myself. But yeah, in terms of like how good it is for getting a particular physique versus just going to the gym and using some of the machines, it's probably comparable. Maybe machines will give you like just a little bit more easier time to like target very specific muscles, whereas like calisthenics, maybe not quite as easy to target stuff, but you can definitely get huge muscles from calisthenics. And I think also it kind of really forces you to get functionally strong in a way that machines may not give you. Like particularly with your body, with your own body weight, like moving your body in space. So I would encourage looking at calisthenics especially if working out in the gym doesn't really suit you, totally just check out calisthenics, because maybe you're more drawn to like working towards discrete goals, like doing handstand or front lever or something like that. I'm definitely going to get into it at some point as well. I don't really have the best space for it right now. I can maybe do some sort of front lever here. That's why I got such a long, like protruding bar. So there's like plenty of space. So I left it open for that, but otherwise I don't think I can do really a handstand here very safely. My head barely almost hits the ceiling as it is, like not too much space. So it's just, do what works for you. Another thing I want to talk about is unilateral training. This is when you train one side of the body at a time. So examples would be like single leg squats, one arm rows, single arm overhead press. This is as opposed to bilateral training where you're doing both limbs at the same time. The main difference is that, bilateral training generally, you're doing both arms at the same time. It's just faster, right? You're doing two muscles, both your biceps in this case, at the same time. But unilateral training is really good for fixing imbalances. So if you're doing like squats or something, right? You're doing regular squats and you're going down, you're using both of your legs, right? You could have a stronger leg that's actually doing most of the work. And so it's compensating. And you're just like deepening that imbalance. So when you do unilateral training and you do maybe split squats where you're barely standing on one leg, and you just make sure you do 20 reps one side and then 20 reps the other side, you're basically making sure that you're getting the same volume for each side. So if one side's stronger, it's not going to gain quite as much as muscle because you did the exact same amount of reps versus the other side, and they'll slowly balance out. So I think unilateral training is really great, but there's a balance between, do you want to have to do every single exercise twice? That's going to take more time. If you're not really that into the working out, then it's a consideration you have to ask yourself. And of course you can do, for example, bicep curls with dumbbells at the same time. And that's unilateral training. But if you're doing them with a barbell, that's where one arm can compensate. Right, or an easy curl bar, that curvy one. If you have plates on it, you could have one arm that's slightly stronger. So dumbbells is a good way to do bicep curls and make sure that both are doing the exact same amount of weights. Now let's talk about periodic deloads. So this one is interesting. Deloads are defined as a period of reduced training stress designed to mitigate physiological and psychological fatigue, promote recovery, and enhance preparedness for the subsequent training cycle. I found mixed scientific consensus as to their benefits. But, that's not everything. Remember, what is known scientifically is just what scientists have studied thus far, right? Like our prevailing scientific knowledge is a fraction of all knowledge. I mean, most of which is yet to be discovered. Consider the fact that until very recently, science had very little to say about the benefits of mindfulness meditation, right? Yet for anybody who's practiced mindfulness meditation, it's obvious that it has profound benefits. It's just that no one in science cared to study it until recently. And now it's like well known. but we're still at the tip of the iceberg there. So in my experience in lifting over the past like 20 years or so, I can definitely say that taking a periodic week off was very valuable to me. So you can either take like a whole week off or just like deload and do like lighter weights, more reps. But you know, there's not a lot of scientific evidence that it's necessarily better or worse. But I definitely do feel like I want a recovery week. If you're working out very heavily, very consistently, and you go for like 2 months straight, I think most people will find if they take like a week off and then get back to it, you know, that week will feel really nice. You know, I don't know if I've met anybody who's ever complained about taking a week off, except for the people who absolutely love working out and it pains them to not be in the gym. And there are people like that, and I respect that. But that's not me. I definitely really enjoy that break. And, you know, it's like when you're working out all the time, I think it was Ryan Reynolds who said this like in a movie interview a long time ago. It's hard to feel like $1 million when you're sore all the time. And that's totally true. If you're working out and you're pushing yourself really hard, you're going to find that you're generally like feeling a little bit sore. And you know, some people like that soreness. It's like it feels good like psychologically and maybe even a little like physically if you're used to it and you're just like, I know that feeling is I worked out. But taking a week off and just being like fully recovered and feeling no soreness, that just feels really nice too. So I encourage you to take a periodic deload week from your exercise. Just chill, you know, relax and enjoy yourself. Enjoy the body that you've granted yourself. A similar concept is called periodization. And this is like a systematic approach where you involve like planned variations in your intensity and volume and your focus over specific time periods. The idea is that it will like help you prevent plateaus, generally speaking, reduce injuries by like cycling through different training phases. So it kind of helps your body like adapt a little bit and recover. I think this is legit. I think most programs today that I've seen have some sort of periodization. Thanks for the follow. See you to gaming. There's a couple of different types of periodization. There's like linear periodization where you're like gradually increasing the intensity and decreasing the volume over time. For example, you might start with high repetition and then high repetition, low weight exercises and progressively move to low repetition, high weight training. Excuse me. Then there's like undulating periodization where it varies in intensity and volume more frequently, sometimes daily or weekly. You might do heavy strength work on Monday, moderate endurance work on Wednesday, and light recovery work on Friday. And then there's block periodization where you focus on like one particular fitness quality like strength or endurance or power for 2 to 4 weeks before shifting focus. I think the science behind it suggests that your body adapts to exercise stress within like 2 to 4 weeks. And you'll find that you might start hitting plateaus. And so periodization helps prevent this. So if you get a workout program, my program doesn't really have periodization. I'm going to be taking breaks myself and I just won't do a workout some week. I don't know if I'm going to go super fancy into different periodization and stuff like that, maybe down the line. But for now, I'm going to just be taking plenty of breaks, ample recovery, and then working through progressions slowly to mix things up over time. But yeah, I guess we can just assess one step at a time as we go through it. I'll be doing the exercises with you guys. So if it feels like, oh, like this is getting stale, this isn't really doing it for me, then we can just mix it up. And actually that pretty much about does it. I guess the last part, the last thing I wanted to talk about was like kind of like the requirements for working out. Like what do you need? What are the important tools that you should get if you want to start exercising at home, right? If you're going to go to the gym, you just need a gym membership. So that's pretty straightforward. And how you decide that, you know, I leave that up to you, you know, look at reviews and stuff. I will say though that you'll probably be paying, you know, what you pay determines the quality, right? Around here where I'm at in New York City, you can get a gym membership as low as like 20 bucks a month. But some of the reviews in those gym memberships, oof, stinky, smelly, like teenagers in there breaking all the machines, you know, kind of a culture of like dropping weights and grunting, and then you can, you know, work your way up, and there's like $50 a month and $100 a month, and it's, you know, some of the nicer ones. So it's really up to you, like what you're going for, what you want. But not much more to say about that. Now, in terms of working out at home, what are the most important, essential things that you could get to work out at home? I would say a rack of dumbbells is probably really important. For guys or girls, you don't really need that heavy. You can go just the standard like 150-pound pack, which is like pairs up to 25 pounds, will get you 90% of the way there. The only other thing I added beyond that was a pair of 35s for just a particular few exercises where I just needed a little bit more weight to start progressing. But at some point, you're going to get to that point with all your exercises where you just max out on the weight. For me, that's like, I can't really do chest press meaningfully here, right? Like my chest press is much more than I can do 35 pounds pairs. But that's okay. You can get pretty darn strong with just that though, especially if you're just really going slow in the negative and taking a nice slow form, and you're finding different progressions. And so I think that I linked the progressions page already, but let's see, did I? I did not. So the other week I promised a document listing various progressions, and so you can find that at njb.fyi/progressions. njb.fyi/progressions. Here, I put it in chat. Whoa, that's weird. Both. What? I'm so confused about what just occurred. I said it twice in two different accounts. That's a problem for another time. But on that page, if you go to it, oh, it's untitled. Let's call it progressions. Progressions. You can see like kind of core exercises and various progressions with them. So pull-ups, push-ups, squat, lunges, dips. And then, you know, I list different kinds you can do for push-up: wall push-up, incline push-up, knee push-up, standard push-up, wide push-up, plyo push-up, diamond push-up, Hindu push-up, dive bomber push-up, right? So as one variant becomes too easy for you, you can move up and start challenging yourself in new ways. So this is just like kind of a little document I've been sort of collecting different progressions on. And I even include them with calisthenic goals. So if you want to be able to do an L-sit, well, start with a hollow body hang, do a hollow body hold, do a compact leg lift, hanging knee raise, hanging leg raise, L-sit, straddle sit, V-sit, right? So I list progression for a bunch of calisthenics goals, and I even have little flexibility goals as well if you want to do a forward fold, middle split, front split, back bridge, and I'll be modifying the document over time. But just to get back and wrap up on the equipment that I think is important for you in a home gym, I like to have workout gloves. Honestly, I still have a little bit of calluses, but workout gloves will save you some calluses if you're holding dumbbells a lot, which I'm doing for a lot of weight, a lot of exercises because I want to add some load. Having some gloves will be very beneficial. Pull-up bar, also kind of a fundamental. You can get that one that just goes in your doorway, which is like super cheap. I kind of like one that's like a bit sturdier and stronger. Although the only thing I would add though, looking at this and trying this, if you can get one that has, you know, an angle for the wide grip, that's really nice, really comfortable. Doing a wide grip on this is, people have done it for millions of years. It's a standard straight bar, but it's just not as comfortable. And so if I could get a new bar, I would get one that has a bit more comfortable grips. And that's pretty much the fundamental. Optional, I would say, is push-up bars or parallettes. Help you get a little bit of deeper stretch and push-ups, kind of. And you can use them for doing like L-sits and stuff. Lifting straps, not the most important, but there are different kinds. There's, kind of the classic straps, which are just like a piece of rope that loops through a loop, and you got to like wrap it around the handle and then grip onto it. Then there's like hooking straps, which like hook onto the weight. And there's flaps that kind of have this flap there, and you put your hand there and you hold it up, and figure eight. You just have to find the one you like the most. Lifting hooks, have the most hold, but they're kind of like weird to grip. My favorite are actually these figure eight kind. The trick is just finding the size that works for your hand. And you just do something like this. So this isn't going anywhere. And then you just take out the grip as part of the equation. But I don't typically need them for dumbbell exercises. I typically use them for when I'm doing pull-ups or something like that. But you will find, in fact, that you will need them for dumbbell exercises if you have a long workout and a lot of heavy dumbbells you're holding, especially like when I'm doing squats and I'm holding these 35s and it's like the end of my workout and I've been holding 35s all day, doing different things with them. My wrists, my grip gets tired. And I don't want my grip to fail before my, quads fail during squats. So I'll use my figure eight straps for that. Some people want to use a lifting belt. I don't think you need to get it now as a beginner, but eventually you might go to a point where you're doing like 30 pull-ups straight. Well, the next phase for you is, all the progressions I listed, archer pull-ups, there's different kinds of pull-ups you can do, but eventually you're going to want to start loading your pull-ups. And so one really good way to do that is with a lifting belt. And you can just, it has a little belt and a little chain, you strap some weights to it. Same thing with dips. You can start doing dips and your body weight is going to be good for a long time, especially if you're going really slow and like really working on good form. But eventually you're going to need to weight that to start providing an actual challenge. And that's where a lifting belt comes in. Similar as a hip thrust belt, I actually have one. This is really helpful for at home just because when you're doing a hip thrust, you'll find that your glutes are really strong. They might be the biggest muscle in the entire body. They're up there. So when you're doing them, you'll very, very quickly exceed how much you can weigh them. If you have even with this 35, that's not enough. So to challenge yourself with the hip thrust, you can get a hip thrust belt. And that basically allows you to strap 2 weights on either side on these ends here. They just hang by your side down here. So basically it lets you double the weight that you can put on your hips. So, you know, it's not going to last forever. Your glutes will get really, really strong really, really quickly. And eventually you just need to like go to the gym and get a barbell and use the Smith machine or something. But for like $15, you can double the amount of weight that you can hold, because it's hard to stack multiple dumbbells on your hips itself. You know, usually you put a towel or something there, but yeah, it gets a little weird. And one thing I like, and you've seen me use before, is this full incline decline bench. Now, I wouldn't really worry about the decline, honestly. I don't think there's really much need for a decline. Now, there's some use, but I think it's kind of niche. I would focus on the incline portion. And like I said the other day, I was in a workout when I was explaining why you should not get my stuff. Do not buy this bench or this rack unless you have the exact same reasons for buying it as me. My reasons were just that I'm in a temporary housing situation. We're here right now. Teresa's getting her Pilates training certification. We may not be in New York forever. So I didn't want to get like this really nice, like really expensive thing that I'm going to have to just leave behind, because what am I going to do? Like carry this huge rack and huge weight bench bench with me. So I just basically got the cheapest thing that would last for a couple months. But if you have any more, you know, chance that you're going to be holding on to this for your life, or, you know, giving it to a friend or something, get something nicer, honestly. And same thing with this rack. The only reason I still have it was because it was free, and that I bought it and I was like, wow, this thing is so dangerous. It has like such a small lip here to catch weights that I've dropped even during one live stream. Just go to the last episode where like this thing fell because it was just like kind of bouncy. So you have to be super careful. I do not like this at all. So I complained, you know, I wrote an honest review that it was like very dangerous, and the company was nice enough to refund the money. So I did technically get it for free, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's dangerous. So highly recommend you not get it for the same reason. And that's about it. You know, actually one thing I do also want to mention that's killer is a nice foam roller. Wow, works wonders. If you can figure out how to get this working on your back, and you know, maybe I'll do an episode on that. But feels really good. Good relief, especially if you've been working out and your traps are sore. Good investment. But yeah, that's all for now. Wow, that ended up to be like basically triple the time. Oh, Dharma Dom. Rock Climber Bill, what's up, man? Yeah, sorry, my chat was covered. I just see you now. Rock Climber Bill, yeah, I wish. Rock climbers are so strong. Every once in a while, I am like, oh, I'm gonna go to the climbing gym and just kind of like climb. And my arms are so sore. I can't climb shit. Basically, after like six minutes, okay, maybe not 6 minutes, but like 20 minutes, I'm like so sore. So mad respect for rock climbers. They got forearms that are built of steel. But what's up, man? How's it going? I just wrapped up. I just had this whole hour talk about weightlifting and strength training. I know how you feel, man. It comes and goes for me too. Yoga's great. Yeah, absolutely. What kind of yoga? I was recently opened up to the whole world of yoga. There's so many different types I didn't even realize. Oh. I see. Nice. I have no idea what that is, but it sounds awesome. Yeah, I was recently exposed. I was in an intentional community for the past 2 years, and it was really cool. We'd have people come through and they'd be like, oh, I know this version of yoga. Can I show you guys? And this person would be like, oh, I know this version of yoga. And lo and behold, there's so many different variations. I'm kind of mind blown, you know? I hadn't realized before. Speaking of variation, this is a variation. You're looking at me like this is what Nathan looks like because this is the only way you've seen me, but this is actually new to me. My entire life, I had like normal hair where I like cut it short, right? I mean, just kind of a guy hair. But then I was like a year ago, at the end of last year, I was like, I'm gonna try something new, you know, push my boundaries. I like to do that with myself, just try new things. And I decided to grow this, to see what it's like to have long hair. And I gotta say, having long hair is work, man. Having short hair is so easy. This thing like gets in my face all the time. You have long hair too? It's like always flying in my face. I'm like, oh, maybe in the winter it'll finally pay off when I'm like slightly warmer. I don't know. I actually listened to your entire Spotify playlist, which was awesome, by the way, dude. It's great. Oh, hair in my eye. But I don't remember if I saw a picture of you. Can I see one? Yeah, man. It was a journey. I was like sitting there and like trying to feel what each song was trying to tell me, the journey it was trying to take me on. It was really cool. Copy, paste. Oh yeah, rock on, dude. Nice. Yeah, it looks like with your hair, you've been going at it for a few years now. The maintenance bro, am I right? I don't know, most of the time I find it gets in my way. Oh yeah, you've had it for some time, wow. That's a hell of a long time. Most of the time I find it's like in my way, so I want to tie it back, but then I'm like, am I defeating the purpose by tying it back? Maybe I should just let it flow. Let it flow. I don't know. I'll figure that out later, but I'm like half thinking I want to just donate it or something because it's just getting everywhere. What happened to my tie? That's the other thing, I lose things. Where's my hair tie? I don't know. Dropped it. Hey baby. What's up? Whoa. Oh yeah. Trying to get it curly. I don't think I have to worry about that. I have curly in my DNA. It's hard to see, but mine's like wavy. I don't do anything with it. It's just naturally wavy there at the end. I got volume, baby. But yeah. That was a long talk. Yeah, I still haven't figured out anything about how to treat it, what to do. Should I put on, special oil. I don't know. I could ask my girlfriend. She has like every possible hair product and knows a lot about that stuff. But yeah. I'll mess around, especially with winter coming soon. I'll probably appreciate having a little bit longer hair. Yeah, actually, for a while I was also shaving the sides of my head, but then I stopped. So this was like short and the top was long. But I don't know. I don't really care. It's kind of the least of my concerns. But yeah, man, thanks for the music. I added it to my playlists and yeah, like pinned it. I'm gonna keep listening to it. Some good shit. I like that vibe. Dude, you're famous. You got 4 million listeners. I hope someday I get 4 million live stream subscribers. That'd be dope. Wait, not you? Did I click on the wrong person? I clicked on your link. Wait, who is this guy with long hair that I'm looking at? Wait, this isn't you? I was looking at the wrong person the whole time. I clicked on your link about the artist. Ludwig Göransson? Is your name Ludwig Göransson? Fuck. Okay. Go to Artist Radio, Dom Rocks. I think I see a small picture of you. I see, okay. You have a gray sweatshirt. It's like super tiny. But it is you, I believe. I don't know, maybe it's not. I can't tell. On your page, Dom Rocks, scroll down. Oh, that. So the gray hair thing? And you're holding, what is that? Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, that is you. Okay. Gotcha. Damn, you have a lot of guitars, bro. Damn. I see. Rock on. Oops. Feed the cats. That's cool, man. I totally wish I played an instrument. It's not too late for me. I'm talking like it's the end of the world. It's too late. It's absolutely not. I could learn how to play an instrument today. But I don't know, there's something about having like learned when you're younger that just gives you a leg up, I feel like. It's kind of like learning language. If you learn when you're like in the critical period of language learning, it's so much easier, right? You can be like fluent in any language, but then you try to learn a language later, it's not. Yeah, it does. Yeah, I thought about it. I've been really thinking about that because playing an instrument is one thing, but turning it into music that is released is another thing, right? And also just being able to control the composition, right? Oh, wait, I thought you meant a digital audio workstation. That's not what you're talking about? Or you're saying that is an instrument in itself? Interesting. So let me answer my question here. So this is like, you're talking like GarageBand or like one of those things where you like control the tracks. This is where the drums go. This is where the piccolo goes. This is where the strings go, and you control where they go and when they're. Yeah, so we're talking about the same thing. Okay, I never really like conceptualized that as an instrument, but yeah, I guess you're right. I guess that's an instrument. Yeah, I'm totally computer and I can totally do that, and I have thought about that. The only thing that turned me away from that, like from just jumping right on board with that, was my experience in Hawaii. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you can make, I mean, some people make their entire, that's all they do, right? Like they just remix other songs and they have millions of listeners. Absolutely viable direction and totally like in line with me. I'm a computer guy, absolutely. The only thing that turned me away from it was my experience in Hawaii where, there was a lot of sitting around fires and like playing an instrument and like singing songs in the woods and stuff. And I'm not going to be busting out a laptop in that situation and just like playing off this computer. Not really. I think people would find that quite strange, and I don't know, maybe they could come to like respect it in time, but it just seems slightly impractical. Where it was like, it's very practical. Someone just like bring a guitar with them on a hike and play some tunes. Yeah, absolutely. That's why like tuba is out for me. Like those giant ass instruments, I'm sorry, but those are just a little bit impractical. And I actually thought the same thing basically about a piano, except for the fact that you can actually get like kind of a small mini piano that like does kind of work. Yeah, like kind of simple stuff. I've been thinking about it. I looked at guitar though. Honestly, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was because I started first looking at piano, and then when I went to guitar after, I was like, what? This is insane. Who invented the guitar? But that's probably because I was biased from piano, because everything's based on piano. Like if you look at sheet music, right? Like it's like designed for a piano. Everything, piano is like some gold standard. And then when you go to guitar, it's like, it just seems kind of illogical to me. The grouping of like the strings and the frets make no sense. It's just like some arbitrary thing someone made up. I'm sure there's some math to it or whatever, but I don't know. There was something about the way the piano is like structured and laid out, and it's like, it seems so nice that I kind of wanted to do that. And I was like, maybe I can just get a small like little piano that's like yay big, and like I can just do like 2 octaves here, and that's probably enough for the most part. But yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, absolutely. And then of course you can amp it too, right? You can do like acoustic guitar, or you could do electric guitar and get as loud as you want. Because that was the other thing I was thinking about, like maybe what if I want to go loud, baby, or every scale has the same shape in any key. That sounds like it's valuable. Yeah, I mean, if history it says anything, it agrees with that statement. That is the best lead instrument. I don't see any piccolos as the lead, typically. I'm also kind of slightly interested in the saxophone too. It seems like a fun instrument. But I don't know, I think my mom scared me away from the instrument when I was a kid, because she's like, your teeth will get, your jaw will be messed up because you have to like yourself in a certain way or something. I don't know. But yeah, at some point I would like to learn an instrument because I feel like I have a lot of music inside me just waiting to be expressed, but it's just like stuck inside because I can't express it. I've even been thinking about singing actually, because singing is like maybe the ultimate instrument, your voice, because it's always with you. And even more than guitar, actually, I'd probably say singers are more the lead, which is kind of unfair. Like, why do singers always get the, they're considered the leader of the band or whatever? Somehow society respects people who can sing more than they respect people who can play an instrument. At least that's the sense I get. Why is that though? I also did consider drums. Actually, I was looking into djembe drums because drums are fundamental about, like, beat is fundamental, right? Staying in beat. And so kind of mastering drumming, I think, can be like a really good basis for other instruments when you want to start jamming and stuff. So I thought about my original path in Hawaii was to do piano and drumming at the same time, and then singing too. But I was a little ambitious, and I ended up stopping. Oh yeah, you need to be fed. I'm sorry. Here you go, baby. Yummy dinner. Yeah, what were the reasons for you giving up? I think I tried it 3 times in my life as well. Huh. Violin's another cool one, actually. That's another one where I think my mom was like, you shouldn't do that one because you'll get a crick in your neck or whatever. Like, she's probably technically not wrong about that. It does seem to, like, it might create some imbalances. But I guess even guitar would probably do that unless you play it completely upright. Such is the nature of life, I suppose. Even piano to some extent. Is it? Never tried. But I bet. Yeah. Well, I mean, in my opinion, we're going to be approaching a world very quickly through in which, AI is taking over jobs, and we're going to find ourselves in a whole different economic reality. And people are going to have to figure out what to do with their time. And I think for a lot of people, that'll be music, and it'll be interesting to see where we go with that. But yeah, I think if a lot of people didn't have to work for money, if that wasn't necessary, and you had time to just do what you want, I think a lot more people would play music, and I think I would be among them. There's just so many ways I want to express myself. I want to express myself musically, I want to express myself creatively through making a video game. I want to express myself through writing. I would like to make a feature film someday too. And live streaming, this is like a form of expression. So there's just, I've always had this problem in my life where I have way too many dreams, way too many ideas, things I really want to do, but I really got to just narrow down on what I think is the most important, and deciding is hard. And every once in a while I flip-flop and I'm like, no, screw it. I'm going to actually give piano a real shot this time. But I think what turns me off about music, well, I don't know. It's just for some reason I just can't help think about the destination. I know that's like so important. Oh yeah, absolutely, bro. Thanks for stopping by. Much appreciated, as always. And yeah, I'm gonna head off too. It's been like 3 hours here, so I'm gonna call it a night. Peace, man. See you next time. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for sticking around. For anyone who was here, sorry for babbling so much. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next episode of mindfulness and just mindfulness. No mobility episode tomorrow because I have an appointment in the morning. So just mindfulness at 2. See you then.